What does it say? Oh. Hey, kia ora. Helen Brahms coming to you live from Sun City in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1268. Networking Riches, day 2. Wow. What this last couple of days has been incredible. I've woken up at 4:48 every morning. Both mornings. And had a beautiful morning setup before having to get on the live. So I've gotten up at 4:48 and didn't have to be online till 9. Oh, actually for 4:48, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, for 4 hours. Sorry. The math is not computing very well today. 4:48, and I had just under 4 hours to get everything done and get online that I needed to get done. So it was nice having that extra quiet time in the morning, and it was worth. And I don't know what's going on, but it must be the fact that I haven't had dairy now this is day 3 with no dairy, and again, voice clear, energy levels high. Sorry, my brain's a little fried. Body energy's high, brain fried. we're all good. But today was a really good session today as well. Backing on after yesterday with the 2 amazing breakthrough sessions that we had, that were just like wow. We got to talk about golden nuggets, and my golden nugget this morning was sharing one of the ideas, one of the concepts that Casey gave us yesterday during the first breakthrough that we had. And he was like, wait, I didn't even know that you did that. So apparently we might have to have a little chat about all the little bits and pieces that I've got going on. He knows the main ones, which is the important ones, because the main ones are the important ones. But the little ones are important too, because they're the ones that trickle. They're the ones that drip feed into the bank accounts and stuff. So they're the ones that are that, even though they're trickling now, they could potentially turn into rivers that flow. Everything starts with a trickle. And every time I think of everything starting with a trickle, I always remember the Flintstones episode where they're on a road trip around the United States. Yes, the Flintstones are on a road trip, and they pull in this one place to see this great wonder. It was on their thing to go see, and so Fred's standing there, and there's this there's a sign that says Grand Canyon, and it's got the arrow pointing downwards, and you follow the arrow down, you see Fred's big toes, and there's this little crevice, just this little dent in the ground. That's what they're pointing to, and it's just this little trickle of water just running along the ground in this little tiny trench of it that's about yay deep, and all you see is Fred's big toes in front of it, and it's got this big sign that says the Grand Canyon next to it. So that was the beginning of the Grand Canyon. So whenever I think of things trickling or just starting to start, I always get that image of Fred standing next to the Grand Canyon as it was starting. But which is kind of funny. But today was another great session. We had some good participation today. I had some good shares on things that they had learned yesterday. It was really good. And then then we had 3 breakthroughs this afternoon before we wrapped up, and we were out of there at 1:00 this afternoon, which was 1:00 Pacific time, 2:00 my time. And we had 3 breakthrough sessions today, which were excellent breakthrough sessions. Again, 3 different trades, 3 different professions or industries, and lots of really good ideas flowing through those as well. And then when we finished at 2:00, I was like, we had the team debrief. And then when we finished with that, I was like, I could go do my errands now that I wanted to do. And I was like, my brain was like, yeah, no. The brain was like, I'm done. And then it was like, we need to have lunch. So So we just had a protein shake for lunch today, and then just had a very quiet afternoon. And yes, we did take a nap. The brain is just fried. It's not completely there right now, which was pretty good that I didn't go for a drive, because to get like the oil change done on the car and pick up my mail, and I could have done it. I had plenty of time to do it this afternoon, and I was just sort of like, yeah, the brain's not working too well. We just got back from walking Zephy, and it was embracing out there tonight, even though it was 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which is somewhere in the low teens on Celsius. There was a bite to the air, because there was this breeze coming through that was kind of bright. So I'm glad I have not my hoodie on, but I have a cap that has a whole flat piece that comes down the back and wraps around the ears. I definitely needed that tonight to keep the cold air out of my ears. And we're actually under winter watch warning, and I'm like, winter watch warning? What the heck for? But we're not at 3,500 feet, so it doesn't affect us. But those at 3,500 feet and above are getting snow. Down here in the valley and stuff, we're getting down to 36 degrees Fahrenheit, which I think is about 4 or 5 degrees Celsius. It's low single digits. That's all I can tell you. And so it was a lot of fun. We had and so it's just been a very good day. Great energy. And I gave my testimony this today as well, and it was surprising the number of people that reached out to me in a private message that were in attendance who had lost a spouse. It was very interesting, because I might, when I do my testimony, I might get one person that reaches out in a private message about losing their spouse, but I had like 5 or 6 people reach out to me today who had all lost spouses at some point over the last 5 years, within the last 5 years. All of them since Brad passed. So Brad was 2017 in September, and I had about 4 or 5 people that reached out to me who had had a spouse pass within the last 5 years. And they were like, here's my number, call me. Here's my number, call me. And I'm like, oh, I don't, yeah. I may or may not call them. I don't know. It depends on my schedule. But yeah, sharing stuff like that with people you don't really know is kind of a little hard. I mean, it's different when you're counseling, but just having these people who have been in a 2-day conference with you, that's a little different. But, it was still, the reach outs were very much appreciated. And the comments that they had were very much appreciated. And so it was, it was a very interesting, it's very interesting doing that testimony and getting that response out of it. But yeah, it was a really good day. I mean, there was lots of great conversations that went on. You could see people writing furiously, because all up there on the thing. But for those that had their cameras on, you could see them writing furiously, taking notes. You could see the little light bulbs going off everywhere. So this networking riches would probably been one of the best that we've had. We had 5. So over the 2 days, we've had 5 amazing breakthroughs, all with good ideas, all from different professions, industries. So there was a little something for everybody in there today, between yesterday and today, when it came to the breakthrough zones. But then the way I always look at the breakthrough zones too is that they are not, yes, we are coaching that one person that has that issue with their business that they want to resolve. But at the same time, there is all this teaching for that people can take away, all this ideas and stuff, and teaching that people can take away with them. And what I find interesting is that some people are sort of like, oh, I'm not in the industry, and they try to turn off. And I'm like, no, do not turn off. Just because it's not in your profession, do not turn off. Because one of the things I did mention today was one thing that that Platinum Inner Circle, or PIC, has always taught me is right back at the very beginning. I very quickly learned not to say, well, that doesn't apply to my business. I can't do that. So because it doesn't apply to my business, is turning around, and even though it's a really good idea, is turning around and saying, how can I make that work for my business? So by switching the language, you're approaching it in a completely different way than what you thought you could. And you're not just sitting there going, I can't do that. It doesn't apply to my business. But turning around and saying, how can I make it work for my business? The brain then switches into problem solving mode and goes, okay, we want to know how to make, we can make it work with this. Well, let's give this a go. And it means that you've tried, even if whether or not you make it work for your business, what the lesson is that you tried it, is that you turn around, and even though you weren't sure if it would or not, you asked, how can you make it work? And then you not only did you figure out that, how can I make it work, but you tried different ways to make it work. And some may have worked and some may not have. But the fact is that you tried. And a lot of times when you turn around and say, well, that doesn't work for my business, but turning the question around and going, well, the statement around going, how can I make it work for my business? Now you're approaching it from a completely different angle. And you never know, you may just find that one thing that you need to tip you over the edge to help solve an issue that you have, just by turning around and saying, how can I make that work? Because a lot of the ideas that these guys give us, it's the techniques that they are using, not the actual, you got to remove you got to look at the techniques that they're using, not the verbiage that they're using. Because they're using the verbiage that is to that particular business. So you need to take a step back, ignore the verbiage side of things, and look at the techniques that they are using on how to move that particular problem forward and how to resolve it. But yeah, so you can if you put your mind to it by asking, how can I? It makes a big, huge difference. Should have just said huge to start with. But it makes a big difference. And it changes your mindset. So when you change that mindset, you're now switching it from I can't to how can I? And when I used to coach gymnastics many moons ago, I would have kids that would stand there and go, I can't do that. Like you show that, like you break it down. Like I would break things down for them into step-by-step instructions on something as simple as how to do a forward roll, how to do a tuck forward roll, step by step. And some of them would turn around, I can't do that. And I go, there's no such word as can't. They go, yes, there is. I says, you bring me the dictionary and you show me where the word can't is in the dictionary. And then I will let you sit down. But until you do that, get up there and try it. They was like, oh, I got to bring a dictionary in. Okay. But they'll get up there and try it. And the cool part is that when they got up there and they tried it, they found they could do it, which was just amazing. And I loved breaking down things for them. And then one of the things I would do is I would show them how it was done, break it down step by step, show them again with each step, and then I would have them turn around and tell me how to do a tuck forward roll. The tuck forward roll, you're standing there, you crouch down into the tuck position, where you place your hands and you push off with your legs, you tuck your legs back in again, so when you end, you're in that tucked position again, and you've had the roll and all that. And I would break that down for them, and I would literally do what they told me. If they didn't tell me to tuck, I didn't tuck. And it was so funny because I turned and go, no, that's not how you do it. I says, well, that's what you told me. And they're like, oh, yeah. I said, what am I supposed to do? And they go, and they'll be like, oh, you got to crouch down. You got to crouch down. Now roll. And so I would roll backwards, sideways, because they gave me no direction. They didn't tell me where to put my hands. So my hands are just down at my side, and I would just like roll backwards. And they're like, no. I go, oh, well, that didn't work. What else can we try? And then they'd go back to thinking on the instructions they'd been given. Oh, yeah, you got to put your hands down on the floor by your feet. And so I put my hands above, and then it says, now you roll. And so I couldn't go sideways because my hands were in the way. So I could go backwards. I could top backwards, or I could, because I was more forward than I was, I'll just go forward and end up on my head because they hadn't told me to push with my feet. And or tuck my head down. And yeah, so it took them, it would take them a while, but the thing that worked with that, breaking it down step by step for kids with gymnastics, just taking something as simple as a tuck forward roll and breaking it down step by step. Well, step 1, do this, step 2, do this. It stuck in their heads. They had to figure it out. They had to remember the steps. And by them remembering the steps, they were there. And when they finally got me to finally do a successful forward roll, I was like, okay, your turn. And now I had removed the can't out of there. The I can't do that had been removed because they had seen how to instruct themselves basically on how to do it. We had walked them through the steps. So then they got walked through the steps and all started doing these beautiful, perfect tuck forward rolls. And that's how I would break things down for them in gymnastics. And even now when I'm working on computers and I'm working on the help chat, I break things down into step-by-step instructions. Step 1, log into your account. Step 2, go to this area, go to this particular menu option on the left-hand side. Step 3, do this. Step 4, and so some of them will end up with like 20 steps, and they're like, you mean to say I got to do that? I says, trust me. Start at step 1 and work your way through, and once you've got it, it will take you no time at all to do it. I said the first time, yes, it will take you a little time as you're learning the steps and you're going through step by step, but once you get it, I said, because I give you every single click and every single click you have to do, everything you have to type along the way are in those instructions. And that's how I have always taught people whenever I've had to be in a role of teaching people how to use a computer system, how to do a tuck forward roll, how to do a straddle forward roll, how to do a backward roll, how to do a handstand, all the gymnastic moves and all of that. I spent 10 years coaching gymnastics, and that's basically how I coached gymnastics, was break the things down to step-by-step things, to steps they could understand. I had kids doing forward rolls on the beam that would be like really self-conscious, not sure if they could stay on the beam or not, but by breaking it down to step-by-step instructions and them knowing that I was on one side of the beam and I had an assistant on the other side of the beam, usually a parent, and they've been told what to look for and where to put their hands, the kids felt more confident. And we had them turning forward roll. First session we did with them, teaching them forward rolls, they were doing forward rolls by themselves by the end of their session on the beam. We didn't start them on the floor. Yes, they learned how to do a forward roll on the floor, but we did not put them on the low beam to teach them how to do a forward roll. We had them on the full standard beam to do their forward rolls and their cartwheels. And again, break it down step by step. And we didn't even have them, the only time they practiced cartwheels on the floor was when they were on the floor and we had them go along lines. And that was how we started on the floor, and then we moved it to the beam and said, okay, it's exactly the same as you do on it's about the same as you do on the floor that you're going to do on the beam, but these are the changes we're going to make to it. We took away the scary. And that's a lot of what we do, and that's why I love working on help desks, is because I get to help people and I get to say, here's the step-by-step instructions. Yes, it may look a lot, but don't be afraid of them. It's click this, click, and it's literally telling them every single click that they are going to do. Click here, click here, click here. And it tells them where to go and click. So, and that's a lot of, with Networking Riches, Casey took away a lot of the scary with how to network. And that was that whole process from beginning of yesterday to the end of today. There was that whole process in there on what you do before an event, at the event, who you talk to, what you do after the event, and the follow-up and everything else. All of that is taking away the scary and breaking down how to network effectively step by step. And I love how he breaks everything down so that you feel confident when you go to a networking event. And so day 2 for Networking Riches is in the can. It's done. And can't wait for the next one. So that's it from me. We'll catch you guys tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening. I am going to go and figure out what to do for dinner tonight. That doesn't involve dairy, because I keep going, I really feel like a grilled cheese sandwich. Yeah, no. And I've got some fresh fruit in there, like blueberries and blackberries, and got some fresh oranges that came off one of the neighbor's trees. And I was going to chop them up, make myself a fruit salad. I thought, oh, that'd be good with some whipped cream. Oh, yeah, no, I can't do the whipped cream. So even Zeffie doesn't realize it, but she's on a dairy-free diet as well, because I've noticed that over the last bits. And I don't give her a lot of cheese. She does not get a lot of cheese. She gets these little small tidbits. But I'm taking her off the dairy right now, because if I get dairy out, I'm going to want to eat it. So she's not going to get a pup cup for a while. I think she's in the bedroom. So she's not going to get a pup cup for a while, because I want to see, because that's the most dairy that she has at one time. But she's been doing this, like, I don't know, backwards sniff snort thing. That kind of, to me, sounds like she might be having trouble breathing through her nose. So I'm taking her off dairy as well to see if that clears up and see what happens with that. So keeping a close eye on her on that one. But yeah, so we're off to have a nice relaxing evening, and look forward to talking to you guys tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Have a super fantastic sparkling evening. Hei konara.